Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming. Instead of you mounts to the Gaming Drag today, I'm coming back at you with another Let's Play episode of A Fall from Grace. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, we're up, and let's go. Cedric began to raise his voice. What is it you actually want, you bastard? What is it you're too scared to admit? You want to take Victor's place, that much is clear as daylight. You think I haven't noticed? Why else would you have followed me all the way here? The lion tried to unconvincingly laugh these questions off. Don't be ridiculous, Cedric. Because if that's what you want, my answer is no. I don't want a relationship with you. I don't want to be friends with you, and I don't even want to see you again. Lysander began to raise his voice in turn as he realized that whatever his plan had been up to at that moment, it wasn't working. Once he'd noticed Cedric was on his own, he thought he would easily be able to convince him to return home, but the coyote didn't seem to be tired of his new lifestyle. On the contrary, he seemed to be just as convinced about what he was doing on this day he'd left, much to the lion's dismay. If Victor had also been there, Lysander wouldn't have hesitated to call the guards, but the last thing he wanted was for them to arrest the coyote he'd been so busy hunting. Now listen to me, you fool. Let me go. I don't want to talk to you. Cedric, you're making a scene. Come home with me and bring all this nonsense to an end. Never. We'll go horse riding, picnicking, and partying for old time's sake, and you'll forget all about that fox. You are more than a common thief. You are more than a common tail-raiser. Don't you see? Unhand me. Cedric, let me go, you piece of shit! A small crowd of people were beginning to form a few feet away from them. As the passers-by noticed the raised voices and animosity between the two, the coyote whispered as the lion finally let go of him, glancing worriedly over his shoulder. Cedric's plan had worked wonderfully. See? Now people are beginning to notice us. Do you want everyone to discover the truth? You want to be thrown out of that fancy estate of yours? Your best option right now is to let me walk away. I suggest you go back home and think about how to actually confront your feelings instead of engaging in these ridiculous antics. An old skunk approached the two with caution, asking if everything was all right. Cedric replied, assuring him there was nothing to worry about, and that he and Lysander were about to go their separate ways. As the skunk walked away, the coyote turned to face the lion, but Lysander didn't look back. He had his eyes fixed on Cedric's belt, the mask the latter had purchased now in plain sight after their argument. The coyote panicked, as he covered it with his coat as quickly as he could manage. You really think you've got everything figured out, don't you? Lysander's tone was almost terrifying, but Cedric couldn't care less. He just needed to leave as quickly as he could. Goodbye, Lysander. I hope you grow up and learn from these events. Cedric marched off before the lion could say anything else. Lysander remained where he was as he glared at the coyote with fury burning in his eyes. He thought he had everything under control, but now he realized Cedric wasn't going to be as easy to convince as he imagined. That foolish coyote really thought turning to a life of crime was the perfect solution to all of his troubles. Just how much had the fox been able to manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the Cedric that Lysander used to know? That criminal had no idea what a huge mess he was getting himself into, nor of what price he was going to pay for all this. It seems I'm left with no choice. It might take days, weeks, or months, but I will catch you, Victor. The lion almost spat out his enemy's name. And you'd better beg for mercy when I do. Thank you. A couple of hours later, Cedric was sitting next to the stream again with Victor. After returning to the bandit camp earlier, he told the others about what had happened to him in town as they sat around the fire eating dinner. The bandits congratulated him on standing his ground with the lion. Dion, unsurprisingly, chiming in to state that Cedric could see how his acting device had already come in handy. Victor hadn't spoken much and appeared a bit moody and distant. Cedric imagined he probably felt responsible for what had occurred to him in town. Thus, after the group had finished their food and after Cedric had thanked Hollis once again for a lovely dinner, he asked the fox if the two of them could have a moment to themselves, Victor agreeing without a hint of hesitation. As they sat close to the watercourse, Victor was the first to speak up, his voice thin and almost muffled. He was looking at the trees ahead with an empty gaze. I'm sorry, Cedric. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you. I should have known something like this would have happened. V, it's all right. Victor interrupted the coyote before he could say anything else. No, it's not. No, it's not. I promise I'll make sure something like this never takes place again. Cedric smiled at the fox's kindness. You know, for a bandit, you're a true gentleman. That's because I grew up with one. The fox rested his hand on Cedric's shoulder. And so it turns out your Lysander didn't call the guards after all. That's because he wanted me all to himself. That asshole actually thought he'd be able to convince me to head home with him again. Victor groaned. You can't be serious. He only sees me as an accessory he can have lying around when it suits him. Beware of rich scum such as him. They have nothing better to do with their time. They'll make their troubles your troubles. Cedric sighed as he decided to tell his friend one last detail he hadn't yet brought up. There's one more thing you should know, and once again this is my fault for not being able to keep my thoughts to myself. Lysander also likes men, but absolutely despises the fact that he does. He's never admitted to it, not even to himself. The day I left his aunt's house, I said something to him like the likes of, "You should be asking yourself a few questions before judging me." The fox listened intently with a hand on his chin, and Cedric was beginning to get emotional. "So, you think that's another reason he's following us?" "Yes. Perhaps he's furious at me for pointing that out and wants me back so he can return to his old ways and forget all about this. Or perhaps he..." The coyote tried to finish his thought. He wanted to tell Victor about how he'd realized Lysander was actually jealous of the bandit, but his feelings finally caught up with him as he began to cry. "Oh, Cedric!" The fox moved closer to him as he pulled out a kerchief from one of his pockets and handed it to him. "I'm sorry you have to deal with all this." Cedric tried to speak between loud sobs. Second, y'all. Water time. Alright, guys and gals, and we are back. Let's jump back into it, shall we? Okay. Why can I never keep my bloody mouth shut? You were angry. Folks say a great many things they ought not to when they're angry. Happens to the best of us. The coyote tried to pull himself together as he wiped the tears from his cheeks. Just things were easier for us, that's all. I understand. You need to remember that we have each other, and that's what's most important. Meeting you again was the best thing that could have happened to me. Promise me you'll never leave, V. Cedric was taken off guard by just how familiar the words that escaped his mouth sounded. He'd uttered them before, a long time ago. You have my word. I'll be by your side forever, Cedric. He saw the garden of his family estate on a warm summer's evening appear before him, and along with it, a young Victor gazing back at him. That warm, captivating look on the fox's face, so full of love and empathy. And those eyes, those beautiful, shining eyes were all I could think of. I gave you my word back then. I said I would be by your side forever, and so it shall be. Oh my. Oh my. Both Cedric and Victor leaned forward as their lips met for the first time in a long and tender kiss. Cedric's instinct took over as he felt the touch of Victor's lips against his and the warmth of his breath, almost feeling like he was about to melt away. Then the fox leaned back, relieved to see Cedric smiling at him excitedly, tears still dripping down his cheeks. I've often dreamed of doing that. The coyote couldn't resist wagging his tail. He replied rather unconvincingly, though he meant every word. So have I. Another kiss. Oh my. Oh, a go further option, huh? Alright, I guess I'll save that for the patrons. Another kiss. They kissed a second time, feeling the touch of each other's soft and warm lips once more. He wished the feeling he was experiencing would never end, as he dreamed of being able to go on living in this embrace, forgetting anything else. Cedric opened his eyes, beating Victor's as the fox gradually let go, each of them warmly gazing at the other. I've been waiting for this ever since laying my eyes on that attractive body of yours a few nights ago. The fox had no idea how much those words helped boost the coyote's confidence. He never thought much of anything about himself, his appearance or his self-worth. But now he felt good enough. He even felt attractive, desired. The two shared a quiet laugh as they gently wrapped their hands around each other's shoulders, lying motionless on the grass in the quiet landscape, listening to their soft breaths. After a couple of minutes had gone by, Victor almost whispered in a warm tone, Let's head back to our tent now. I'm sure we both need some sleep, and more adventuring awaits us come morning. As they lazily groaned and picked themselves up, Cedric spoke gently. I really like you, V. He usually wouldn't have been able to say anything remotely close to this statement without stumbling over his words and making a fool of himself. But right now, the words rolled off his tongue. He never felt more at ease in his life. Victor replied in a similarly confident tone. So do I, Cedric. They made their way back to their sleeping headquarters at a leisurely pace. Water time. I've been thinking about this ever since we visited that farmstead. Perhaps once we've gathered enough money in the eastward towns, we could buy a cottage in the country and live a pleasant and simple life there. And just forget about everything. Cedric almost couldn't believe what he just heard. This was exactly the scenario he'd been dreaming of since the meal at the farmstead with Agnes and Harold. It was almost as if the fox had read his mind. Imagine what the two of us could do together. What a life we could lead. Happy and free at last. I'd love that. I love you. Before Cedric could react, Victor leaned in and gave him a last gentle kiss before lying down on the blankets in their tent. Good night, my dear Cedric. Sleep well. See you in the morning, V. Ripe strawberries! Fine silverware for the ladies! Knives to grind! The hustle and bustle of market life filled Chipping Bambro's elegant square, as vendors and villagers alike went about their business. A traveler passing by need but spare a glance at the hurried frenzy to gather this was one of the largest and most frequented market towns in the West Country. Indeed, folks from all walks of life could be spotted adding a vibrant color palette to the picturesque location. Old servant maids, coarse young boys, sprightly female vendors, finely dressed gentlemen from neighboring villages doing their best to stand out from Bambro's lower-class inhabitants. Even the odd preacher foretelling the end of days from a shady corner all surrounded Cedric as he made his way around the square. Let me see who I can see. Hollis and Selwyn were at his side, accompanying him on this particular outing. This was now the 5th morning since the Coyote had first met the bandits, and except a couple odd jobs he'd agreed to help out with around the camp, this was his first proper task as a member of the masquerade. The others had thought they'd start him off with pickpocketing, a slightly more subtle and possibly low-effort activity, a marketplace being the perfect bustling setting for them to blend in amongst the crowd and get their dirty work done. However, Hollis had still advised him to practice the utmost caution when in town. It may be less risky than robbing the king's guards, but they'll hang a cut purse just as well as they'd hang a highwayman. Those words still rang out in the back of Cedric's mind, even as he made some casual conversation with the two. Those apples look delicious. Only 2 shillings a score, my darling. Only 2 shillings a score, my darling. You hungry already, Hollis? Hey, I'm actually gonna give it a little pause right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Katie Silver, and thank you going above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Zeke, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if you want to get your names and credits, get access to all of our Safe for Work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!